Trekkers and Trekkies. So today is going to be a really different video because we're not looking really at anything other than pictures that I'm going to show you. At a box. I'm going to show you a box. And me telling you about the project I'm going to start working on. Because this is the start of me trying to do something pretty different. So I want to start by showing you a picture that I did. It was in about 2005 or 2006. Some friends of mine and I, we were discussing Star Trek, we were discussing Deep Space Nine, we were discussing Playmates toys. And an idea got mentioned and my head started. So I got on my computer and I went into Paint. Just old school Paint. And using the line tools in Paint, I came up with this idea that it would essentially sort of be like the Castle Grayskull that had the two parts and they opened up like that. But it would be for Deep Space Nine and specifically the Promenade. So you'll see that when you open it up, on the bottom section on one side you've got Quark's bar. And you would actually there'll be a little bar behind. It'll be the bottles and the shelves and everything, and have bar stools. Then on the second level above it was where there'd be tables and probably one of the I'm blanking what the table is called, Domjot tables. Then opposite on the other side, which would actually end up being the front side, you would have a combination of, and it would, on the end there, when it closed, you would have the doorway to Quark's bar, was the idea. And that next to that, you would have the little window, serving window, for the Klingon cafe. And then when you opened it up, the opposite side from Quark's, there'd be just a sort of a wall with a screen on it kind of thing. So there was several of those on the Promenade, just screens that had information on them. And then next to it would be one of the airlocks, like was on the Promenade. That when you opened, it would also take, and on the front, but if you had it closed up, on the front would be another airlock. So it would be the double airlock. And you could take and, have the one airlock open up and have your people come through, your figures come through it, close that one, then open the other airlock and have them come out onto the Promenade. And then up above it would be one of those bridges type sections that had the windows that went out, that looked out into space. And you can see I did, had it be 16 inches tall, and this needed to be 9 inches, and blah blah blah, and that the doors would need to be, the hatches for the airlock would need to be 5 inches, and I went through all this stuff, coming up with all these ideas, and never really came up with a way of doing it. Keep in mind, 3D printers weren't even on my radar. I don't even know if they existed in 2005. There was probably some early versions at that point, but I don't remember any talk in 2005, 2006 of 3D printers. So it was a pipe dream idea. There's no way. And it was one of those things that I knew that I could probably build it sort of dollhouse style, but I didn't know enough about dollhouses at the time. Which this is actually a good chance for me to be like, now I do, thanks to a couple of people, but specifically I'm going to tell you, go check out Bentley House Minis. Aira, she's awesome. I've actually gotten to talk to her a couple of times. Great tips, great ideas, and in fact, easily 70% of what I'm going to be putting into this, I have learned from her. So, going forward, probably about, I don't know, 8 months ago or so, is when I pulled out my little sketchbook and I drew this down. I was like, well, now it's, we could, maybe I can get some people to help me with 3D stuff. I have tried using Blender and I suck. I I need like 10 more years before I'm going to manage to make a football shape in Blender. I'm really bad at, like, I don't know. So, but I was thinking, well, maybe I can get some people to start helping me with this, or I can figure out something. So I want to start working on the, and I get to thinking about, well, maybe with Quark's bar, maybe I shouldn't have it be exactly rectangle shape. Maybe if I bump it out, do a little sort of half hexagon shape on that one wall, more kind of like the way that the bar was. It might kick it out and make it look more interesting from the outside. And then I realized that opens up that wall to where I could actually make that little section on the outside then look like the Replimat, and actually have have on one of the walls have the replicator, because the Replimat had 3 cornered walls. There was a center section that had, like, I don't know, it looked like sort of a menu kind of thing with those like bubble deals going up along the side of it, and then on either side there was a replicator. Well, there'd only be 2 walls here, so one would have the replicator, one would have the display wall with the bubbly thing. Don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I don't think they make little mini, well, they might, but they'd have to be real thin, real skinny. Anyways, sorry, I was thinking, because I know that what they used on the show was those little bubble makers that they're like 6 foot tall. I've seen them at stores. You can find them on Amazon. I think those things are about 5-6 foot tall and cost about $500 or something crazy. If I think about it, I'll throw a picture of what I'm talking about on the screen. But the harder thing was I was actually working on how to figure out how the airlock is going to work around the Klingon Cafe. That was what this picture was actually more about. Was figuring out that the Klingon Cafe will have to be able to be accessed only from the one side. So I'm going to have to make the window where the door opens up to the outside, so that the airlock, when you rotate the doors, they will go along either side of the Klingon Cafe, inside those walls. That's what I was sort of drawing there, was the inner parts of the walls, trying to figure out what I was going to do there. But I started to draw a part for the second section, and I've been thinking about, or for the second floor, sorry, that's what that was. And I got to thinking about it, and I actually just took and threw it into Photoshop and drew this in. And I was thinking about, on the second floor, instead of it just being the tables for Quarks, that I could take and put a couple of walls in there. And from the outside, up above the Replimat, I know it's technically not accurate to the show because Garrick's was on the lower floor around the corner from Quark's, but to have a little inset there from the outside where Garrick's clothes shop would be, and I could use stickers. I could Photoshop some stickers to put on the wall in there, and then there would be above that. Well, then a couple of weeks ago, my dad bought some stools. He needed to buy. In fact, I'll just go ahead and pick this up. This right here. We're gonna get to a better picture of it here in a second. They needed new stools in the kitchen, and he asked me to help him put them together. And so I came and got them out of the box, and I put them all together. And then I did that thing where the box was just kind of sitting there in front of me, and I got to looking at it, and I went, I'm gonna take this box. Oh, you're going to throw it away? No. I'm going to take it and probably do things with it. So, this is what the box fully looks like. You see I threw Wharf on top of the box just to, so you can have an idea of what it looks like and how big it is. And I realized that it's big enough, the squiggly lines was where I messed up. Where the two solid bar lines are is where I measured that you could actually do bottom floor, second floor, third floor. And that's when it really occurred to me. I was like, do everything exactly like I was talking about. Do the corks at the bottom, have the airlock, have the Klingon thingy cafe. Second floor, have the rest of the bar, have the Garricks up there on the second level. Have the windows, have the nice big windows. You can set the figures up and have them looking out and at the stars and that kind of thing. And then I was like, and on the third, then I should totally put in a third level. And see, the thing is let me actually pop back to that first picture. Over here. You saw that I have the windows that they tilt back on the front side. So I was like, so that it would only be about 4 inches wide. We'll find out if that's exactly what's left there, which we'll get more into at another point. But I was like, I should take and for a third level, make. Well, it was on the show. They had the conference room. That's not the word they used for it. It was the. Oh, I'm forgetting. It was the conference lounge. Oh, I feel dumb because I can't remember what they called it on Deep Space Nine right this minute. The wardroom. That's what it is. But in typical TV show fashion, it was a room that they actually reused for multiple sets. It was also crew quarters for Cisco and Dax and Worf. I think everybody just about. They would just rearrange the furniture and change the decorations, and it's the O'Briens. Because the windows were exactly the same in every one of them. The carpet was exactly the same. They'd pull all the furniture out, set up the big long table, and put chairs. So I definitely, at the least, I want to make the plain room and the windows, which that means that there will then be the windows on the back side, and they'll be above Garrick's. But to give that a little more visual interest, and then in that little space on the front, on what'll be the other side swing out, to make that a hallway of Deep Space Nine, so that it'll be the hallway outside of the wardroom. Or I could redecorate it, take the table out, and put in, a couch and chairs and a desk, and then it's Cisco's quarters, or Dax's or whoever's. But I definitely, like I said, I want to definitely start by making the wardroom, which it means if I can't find someone to make the table for me in a 3D, with 3D printing stuff, which would be really cool. Triple Fiction has made the conference table. Actually, Triple Fiction and I think it's Dazbot over on Etsy. They've both made the original series conference room table and the next generation conference room table, which I got Triple Fiction's table, and that's about the right dimensions that we're looking at. Because I think that it's going to end up being about 16 inches, well, about 14 inches probably on the inside. And I am going to tilt the back windows back just a little bit to give them that correct angle. But anyways, and I'd like it to where you could probably have at least, 2 chairs on each side and 1 at each end kind of thing. Not to be too terribly long, which means it's not going to be screen accurate, because the one that they used on the show, they could get 16 people at that table. I'm not building that set. That's massive. We're not going there. This thing would have to be twice the size. And it's not only do I not want to build one that's twice the size because I don't have the space, but it just gets into it no longer being a fun thing. But I know that what's going to go into this first is getting things cut. I've got lines drawn on this. In fact, I was going to show you. I did draw it's a more correct shape. If you remember back on that first picture I showed you, the Quark's door was just a plain door. Like I said, that was like 2005, and getting reference pictures was a lot harder back then. Now I have the correct shape of that door, that sort of slightly pentagon diamond-esque shape. And you can see how the other section is going to be smaller in width. I'm going to have to add on to it for where the cafe and the hatchway go. Which none of that's an issue. That's easy enough to do. To add on to the other side of the box. But there's a lot of that stuff that having it 3D printed would not only look better than what I can do by hand. I'm a good artist. I have no problem sculpting things and assembling things. You've hopefully seen other stuff on my channel that I've made that I think looks fairly good. I'm trying to see if that's a bad example, because that was a prototype of, it was I was just looking at the changeling that I made on the channel quite a while back now. I think that was October of last year. I keep the prototype on my shelf above my desk. But, actually, you've all hopefully seen this. This is one of the Bajoran columns that I made. I showed pictures on my Instagram and Facebook. So I'm a good enough sculptor, but when it comes to making like hard lines, like the door for Quark's bar, or the sign for the Klingon Cafe, things like that, and the table, it would be cool if I could find somebody who could help me with 3D rendering, that kind of stuff. But if I can't, I can't. But yeah, I'm gonna have to cut the box up, get boards cut and put in place, probably double thickness, and then I'm gonna probably be looking at doing sort of a paper mache type of thing. Not necessarily paper per se, but something like that to wrap everything in to make it rigid. This would be after I cut like the windows and stuff like that, but doing that to make it rigid. And then once that's done, then starting the painting and the decorating and, building the bar, building the shelves, all the stuff like that. So that is really it for this video. So I guess really I'm just going to be like, hey, y'all make sure and keep an eye out if you'd like to contribute in some way. If you're good at making stuff in 3D and you want to help me out with this project, that would be cool. I will totally give you credit for it. If not, then I won't give you credit for doing nothing, because I can do that on my own. I do it every night. I just get in bed and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to sleep, and I'm not going to give myself credit for it because I'm going to be waking up every hour. So, yeah, give yourself credit for getting sleep, I guess. And I'll see you next time.
If you enjoy my videos and want to see more, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. Also, you can support the show by signing up on Patreon, or head over to Zazzle to pick up prints of my artwork, prints on canvas, t-shirts, and other merch. You can find me on social media. For more information and updates on the channel, all info is below. If you didn't enjoy the video, why are you still here? Do you want a song? Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, them, 3 bags full. One for the master who can screw himself. You can listen to somebody else.